After weeks of sitting in a jail cell, this 18-year-old was brought before a judge. He stood there, hoping maybe, just maybe, things wouldn't be as bad as he feared. But what he didn't know was that the next words spoken would seal his fate forever.
You're also charged with first-degree murder that carries the maximum sentence of the death penalty or life in prison without the possibility of parole.
His face froze. The words hung in the air like a death sentence because that's exactly what they were. He broke down. Not the kind of breakdown you see in movies. This was raw, real, trembling hands. Eyes wide with the sudden crushing realization that his life, at just 18 years old, was essentially over. A wave of shock swept through the courtroom. The widow of the victim sat in the front row, her eyes fixed on the young man who took away the love of her life. In that moment, a teenage life changed forever. The judge, recognizing the weight of the moment, quickly intervened. Don't say anything else. Please don't say anything. At this point, you're presumed innocent. That's the way our justice system works, and that's where we stand today. But everyone in that room knew. Innocent until proven guilty is a legal principle. But the reality is far heavier. This is the story of what brought an 18-year-old to that moment. The story of a hero who paid the ultimate price. And the story of how everything changed on a cold December afternoon. It was a cold Saturday afternoon. December 30th, 2023, around 4 p.m. 50-year-old Sergeant Dale Nix was off duty. No uniform. Just plain clothes. Sitting at one of those outdoor tables at the Sheetz on Sandy Ridge Road, probably grabbing a coffee, maybe a snack. The kind of stop you make without thinking about it. But Nix wasn't the kind of man who could turn it off. Even off duty, he was watching, observing. Because that's what 22 years on the force does to you. You see things other people don't notice. And that day he noticed a car, a Chevy Equinox. Parked in a handicapped spot. No placard. No justification. Then he saw two young men walking out of the Sheetz. Each carrying 5 cases of beer. 10 cases total. About $83 worth. Walking like they owned the place. Straight to the Equinox. Nix stood up. He had his badge. He had his gun. But he wasn't in uniform. He was just a man in plain clothes who saw a crime happening and couldn't look away. He approached the car. According to prosecutors, that's when everything went wrong. 18-year-old Jamere Justice Foster was behind the wheel. 28-year-old John Walter Morrison was with him. And in that car, waiting, was 18-year-old Ukria Leephurst Blackwell. They'd just stolen beer, a misdemeanor, a stupid, reckless decision. But it was about to become something far, far worse. Because when Dale Nix approached that car, Jamere Foster didn't see a police officer. He saw a middle-aged man in plain clothes walking toward him with a gun. Foster's attorney would later argue that Jamere was terrified. That he didn't know Nix was a cop. That Nix drew his weapon and walked toward the car. That Foster, in a panic, reached into his vehicle, grabbed his own gun, and fired. 5 shots. 5 times, the sound of gunfire echoed across that parking lot. Dale Nix fell. His badge lay beside him on the pavement. The Equinox sped off, tires screeching, headed for the interstate. But Dale Nix wasn't alone. Another off-duty Greensboro police officer, Cameron Peach, was at that same Sheetz. By chance. By fate. He rushed to Dale's side within seconds. A Guilford County paramedic, also there by chance, joined him. They worked frantically. Life-saving measures, CPR, pressure on the wounds. But Sergeant Philip Dale Nix was transported to a nearby hospital. And there, surrounded by the emergency staff who fought to save him, he died. Within hours, law enforcement moved fast. Surveillance footage. License plate readers. Witnesses. 911 calls. The Chevy Equinox was identified immediately. By the next day, December 31st, 2023, 3 suspects were in custody in Winston-Salem. Jamere Justice Foster, 18 years old. No prior convictions. John Walter Morrison, 28 years old. 5 prior convictions in Forsyth County, 2 of them felonies. Ukria Blackwell, 18 years old. No prior convictions. The charges came down hard. Foster was charged with first-degree murder, larceny, conspiracy to commit larceny, held without bond. Morrison was initially charged with larceny, conspiracy, and accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. Also held without bond, Blackwell was charged with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder, held on a $500,000 bond. According to warrants, Blackwell knew what had happened. She allegedly told Foster they needed to get out of there because he just killed a cop. She helped him flee. And just like that, 3 young lives and the life of a hero collided in a tragedy that would rock the city of Greensboro to its core. On January 2, 2024 in Guilford County Courthouse, the courtroom was packed. Officers in dress blues, community members, news cameras. And in the front row, Kelly Nix Dale's widow her face a mixture of grief and stone-cold resolve. The 3 defendants appeared. Judge Tabitha Holliday presided. First up, Jamere Justice Foster. Guilford County District Attorney Chris Parrish didn't mince words. He laid out the facts. Foster had shot Sergeant Nix 5 times after stealing beer. After Nix approached and identified himself according to the state, then came the hammer. "You're charged with first-degree murder," Judge Holliday said. "The maximum punishment for this offense is the death penalty or life in prison without the possibility of parole." Foster's face changed. You could see it in real time. The color drained. His eyes widened. His mouth opened slightly, like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. And then he muttered something, barely audible. "On God." The judge cut him off immediately. "Don't say anything else. Please don't say anything. At this point, you're presumed innocent. That's the way our justice system works, and that's where we stand today." But the damage was done. The weight of those words, death penalty, life without parole, hung over that courtroom like a funeral shroud. As the case moved forward, Foster's defense team mounted an argument that would become central to the legal battle: self-defense. In a bond hearing months later, Foster's attorney made a stunning claim. "When Jamere shot Sergeant Nix, Jamere was defending himself," the attorney said. Jamere did not know that Nix was a police officer because Nix was in plain clothes and did not identify himself as a police officer. According to the defense, here's what happened. Foster walked out of the store with stolen beer. As he approached his car, a middle-aged man in plain clothes, Nix, drew a gun and began walking toward him. Within seconds, no warning, no identification. Foster, terrified, believed this stranger was going to kill him. He didn't have a gun on him when he went into the store, but he had one in his car. He grabbed it, and he fired. Through the eyes of 18-year-old Jamere, this was a middle-aged man coming at him with a gun, his attorney argued. The defense requested bond. They argued Foster wasn't a flight risk, that he deserved a chance to prepare for trial outside of jail. The judge denied it. Foster remained behind bars. No bond, and the case grew more complicated. In July 2024, Jamere Foster made headlines again. But this time, it wasn't about the murder case. Foster was charged with assault with a deadly weapon, assault inflicting serious injury, misdemeanor conspiracy. What actually happened? According to court documents and video evidence presented in court, Foster along with another inmate attacked a fellow prisoner inside the Guilford County Jail. The weapon? A sock filled with batteries and soap. On September 9, 2024, the case moved from district court to superior court. A grand jury handed down indictments. Jamere Foster was indicted on first-degree murder, assault with a deadly weapon causing serious injury, robbery with a dangerous weapon, possession with intent to sell cocaine. Morrison's charges were upgraded. He was now facing the same murder charge as Foster because under North Carolina law, if you're committing a felony and someone dies, you can be charged with murder, even if you didn't pull the trigger. And here's where the story takes a turn. September 30th, 2024, something unexpected happened. The Chief Assistant District Attorney stood up and read a statement. After consultation with the family of the victim, Philip Dale Nix, including his parents and widow, the state of North Carolina will not pursue the death penalty against Jamere Foster. The room went silent. The Nix family, Kelly Dale's parents, the people who had every right to demand the ultimate punishment, had asked the state not to seek Foster's execution. This decision is in accordance with the wishes of the parents and widow of Philip Dale Nix, the prosecutor said. If convicted, Foster would now face life in prison without the possibility of parole, not death. But John Morrison? His fate was still undecided. He was told he'd need to meet with his newly appointed capital defender before the DA determined whether to pursue the death penalty against him. Why did the Nix family show mercy to Foster but not necessarily Morrison? Some speculate it was Foster's age, 18, barely an adult. A brain still developing. A life that could, in some distant future, be redeemed. Others think it was because Morrison had a criminal record, 5 prior convictions, 2 felonies. Foster had none. The Nix family never explained publicly. But their decision sent a message. Even in the face of unimaginable loss, they chose compassion over vengeance. But this story remains a lesson. A single act like stealing beer can change one's life forever. As of late 2024, the case remains pending. Legal experts say this case could take years to go to trial. Murder cases involving law enforcement are complex, high-profile, emotionally charged. Foster's defense will argue self-defense, that he didn't know Nix was a cop, that he feared for his life. The prosecution will argue that Foster shot a police officer during the commission of a felony, that he fled the scene, that he showed no remorse. The jury will have to decide, was this murder? Or was this a tragic misunderstanding fueled by fear and bad decisions? Either way, one thing is certain. Dale Nix is gone. His family will never get him back. His son will grow up without a father. His colleagues will patrol the streets without their sergeant. And Jamere Foster, whether he spends the rest of his life in prison or is somehow acquitted, will carry the weight of that December afternoon for the rest of his days. If this story moved you, remember behind every statistic is a human being who once laughed, loved, and dreamed. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that uncover the darkest sides of human nature and the lessons they leave behind. This is True Crime and Scam Stories, where every story has a heartbeat.